darkness through the break of the day. Give me a man after midnight. Want somebody help me chase the shadows away. Give me a man after midnight. Take me through the darkness through the break of the day. Give me a man after midnight. Give me a man after midnight. Give me a man after midnight. Want somebody help me chase the shadows away. Give me a man after midnight. Take me through the darkness through the break of the day. There's not a soul out there, no one to hear my prayer. Give me a man after midnight. Want somebody help me chase the shadows away. Give me a man after midnight. Take me through the darkness through the break of the day. Give me a man after midnight. Want somebody help me chase the shadows away. Give me a man after midnight. Take me through the darkness through the break of the day. Give me a man after midnight. Want somebody help me chase the shadows away. Give me a man after midnight. Take me through the darkness through the break of the day. Give me a man after midnight. Want somebody help me chase the shadows away. Give me a man after midnight. Take me through the darkness through the break of the day. Give me a man after midnight. Give me a man after midnight. Give me a man after midnight. Want somebody help me chase the shadows away. Give me a man after midnight. Take me through the darkness through the break of the day.
I wanna love you, I wanna hold you, I wanna love you and treat you right. I wanna love you, live into you. I wanna love you, love you. I wanna love you, I wanna hold you, I wanna love you, I wanna hold you, I wanna love you, I wanna hold you.
All right, we are live. As you can see, Cameron is now starting to write the days out on the whiteboard. Thank you all for being here for another kind of special edition of Off the Rails here, where we're doing a live episode once again. So with that said, I am going to leave the screen and we are going to get straight into Cameron. So here we go.
Well, I'm going to start by saying, A, welcome, but B, we're going to try to do this. I don't usually cram this in like an hour, but I think we can get through a lot of it. I've tried not to think too much about it because I wanted to really like go through this kind of with live thoughts, talk about why, and then also like get feedback, comments. And if you have good feedback or we can make some adjustments, we'll do that as well. But then also just kind of explain so that way it wasn't like a pre-thought thing, because like I'm just going to use the L1 for instance. I think they do it in the L1 where they're like, hey, we're going to program a day. And then like, it's basically like a pre-planned thing and they just like make you feel like you're programming it. So I really want this to be like, I'm actually programming this. So I didn't really think about much of this at all. And two, after we do this, I might make some adjustments between now and next week. Slight adjustments here and there. The majority of what you see is what we will do next week. But if something makes more sense afterwards or we need to, we'll definitely adjust some things. So just have those things in mind. And then also, I'm going to start this with a question over to Nate, since he's here live. Do you think programming for CrossFit is more of a science base, an art base, or kind of a mixture of both? So.
Yeah, I think we talked about this in maybe Ronnie's episode, but kind of both. Like, I think there is a science aspect to it of, yes, there's certain rep ranges we know are going to build muscle. We know certain ones are going to build hypertrophy, certain things along that nature, but there is definitely an art form to it. So I would kind of sit in the camp of both, with it being more leaning towards in the art form state.
And I would say that pertains to CrossFit a lot more than maybe a bodybuilding, Olympic lifting, powerlifting, things where it's like there are very specific movements that these people are trying to get better at, and it's only a handful of things. Or bodybuilding, you know, it's like, okay, we're going for looks. So, but in CrossFit, there's just so much stuff for us to get good at that, you know, there is a balance of both where it's like, okay, let's train some things, but then also like we're doing it as a class, not in one-on-one settings. So like it needs to be fun and things like that as well. So, and then kind of what we've been doing lately, which I do like, is picking a cycle and focusing on that. So that's kind of what we're gonna start with today. Is we know right now we are training for retesting a back squat. And usually I do this on a computer and I already have all these notes down, but we'll write them here. So back squat, deadlift, bench press. We've been working on ring work, rings. And one of the focuses I have been trying to make us work on as well is core. So back squat, deadlift, bench press, rings, and core, because the stronger your core is, the better your back squat, deadlift, and bench press is probably going to be when it comes to finding a 1 rep. And how we're doing that is going to be a powerlifting total, is kind of what we know we've been programming towards. And I know that also we talked about doing this at the end of the month. So that means we have this week, which is going to be next week. We have the week after that, which Nate's going to program. And then that following week is where we're going to be testing. So I have to have those things in mind. And then the other things when I'm programming, or when anyone's programming, should be who are you programming for? And then kind of what are you programming for, right? So with the who, obviously it's our members. And then in my mind, I like to try to program for the top handful of athletes and then scale down from there for everybody else. And I'm not thinking just one athlete. Like we all know Rob Wolfington's our best athlete, right? And then we got Claire and Margaret on the female sides who are usually our best athletes there. But I'm not just programming for those two. I like to think about our top handful of RX athletes on both sides when I'm choosing weights and things like that, unless we want to challenge some things here or there. So there is a give and take there. But so all that in mind, we got back squat, deadlift, bench press, rings, and core, and we're going to try to kind of build a program here. So I know Thursday is open gym, do what you want, but also we usually do some accessory work, which we'll get to later, all right, which is our self-guided. We usually have an A, a B, and a C of some sort. So I'll kind of leave that open for now, right? So in my mind, I'm programming for 3 days of work, a day-ish of rest, and then 2 days of work. We know Saturday we're going to run a partner WOD, all right? And with a partner WOD, I'm usually looking for 25 to 35 minute workout for the most part. And so that's going to be more of a cardio day. We don't typically here at CrossFit Taylors do any kind of like heavy strength stuff on Saturdays. So that being said, knowing I want to program 3 things, I'm probably going to try to shoot for a heavy on Monday, a heavy on Wednesday, and a heavy on Friday. All right. So those are kind of the way I've been programming some stuff. And then another thing with programming is I need to look at kind of where we've been as well, right? So, you know, how did last week end? And let's make sure that I'm probably not hitting the same movements. Like if we crushed legs on Friday, I probably shouldn't start Monday with legs again, unless it fits or unless I'm trying to do that on purpose.
We do have a quick question
Yep,
in the
go
chat here
for it.
regarding next Saturday. Is the gym closed?
Yes.
Okay.
The gym is closed next Saturday due to the Bergner weightlifting course, right? Which I guess would have been a note on Sugar WOD, which I didn't have. But I'm going to program this week as if we had Saturday open, just because we're doing this to show programming. But yes, what's up here, what I end up coming with, whatever, maybe we'll see it down the road for a future Saturday if it fits in somewhere else. All right. But technically we are closed on Saturday. All of that being said, let's go back to here. So we know tomorrow, which is Friday of this previous week, we are doing running and snatching at 155 and 105. And then we're doing some bench press, right? And then Saturday this week, I have not fully looked at yet, but I'm going to assume it's more on the cardio side of stuff. Let's see here real quick. Friday, Saturday. Saturday is, that was last Saturday. There we go. Wall walks, double unders, toe to bar. Love it. Shoulder to overhead, double unders, toe to bar, shoulder to overhead. Beautiful. Right. So between Friday and Saturday, I now looking at that I can probably hit some good squats or deadlifts on Monday, and I can go a little bit more leg oriented. So with us only having 2 weeks to get towards testing new 1 reps, I feel like we should be within that 2 to 3 rep range of heavy as well, right? So we're no longer doing lighter weights, moderate weights. We're going to kind of build back up to something. And so also keeping in mind something we did earlier a month ago, probably a little over a month ago, I thought was fun was the drop sets that we did. So I feel like bringing something like that back could be fun. So I'm going to say for Monday right now, and again, this could change later, but let's say we take 15 minutes to build to a heavy double. Heavy 2 rep. And then we're going to do drop sets. So this drop set's going to be different than the continuous drop set that we did. At 90% of that double that you find, right? So I'm going to find a heavy double in 15 minutes, and then we're going to hit 3 sets of 2 at 90% of this double you also just hit, right? So the goal is definitely going to be find a heavy double, get some strain on the body. Those are usually not your prettiest reps. Like we're going to struggle through those. And then we're going to go to 90% of that and hit 3 sets of 2, hopefully still heavy, but a little cleaner of good reps. All right. And so just off the top of my head, I like the way that looks and sounds. It's definitely going to be some hard work, and that will definitely get us moving with our squats for the week in a heavy way. Okay. Now I have that in place. That's legs. I need bench press and deadlift as well in here, right? And I could mix those things together, but again, I'm kind of trying to go heavier because we're leading towards a heavy 1 rep. And so in my mind, I like to respect the heavy days, if you've ever heard that before, meaning if we're truly trying to build towards something heavy, we need to hit some reps, get some rest, hit some reps, get some rest, and we don't want to necessarily always mix those things together. And so since we're kind of getting towards the end of this cycle, trying to get the body nice and primed for that. So I would like to put my deadlift or bench press here and or here on these other heavy days. So what makes sense to me, just looking at this with it being open, is I'm going to put my bench press probably on Wednesday. Whoop. And I'm going to put my deadlift on Friday for now. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of put those in placements. So got squats, got bench press, got deadlift. So now let's think about how do we want to bench? And kind of switching things up a little bit. Sometimes I think when you're just doing heavy singles or doubles on the bench, it seems to be more boring when there's nothing kind of in between. So this is somewhere where personally, I think we can sneak in some core work here. And so what I would like to do, I'm going to just throw it out there and someone can complain or not or whatever, but I think 8 by 1 at, let's call it 85 to 95%. Those are bad numbers. Let me rewrite that. 85 to 95%. Right? And that can be billed from 85 to 95%, or it can kind of be like how have things been going, right? We are retesting. We have been doing some bench press. So in the coach's notes later, or when we explain this for class, we'll put can start at, want them to start in, members to start inside this rep range or this percentage range, but can kind of build as they want, stay where they want, right? So if you're one of those people who, has just been crushing bench press lately and your one rep is definitely going to be high, then maybe you're starting these 8 sets of one at 95% and you're just kind of sticking with that for all 8. If you've someone that's kind of got a lasting one rep and we've been kind of working on it, then maybe today, because it's going to be Wednesday, start at the 85%, see how it feels. Obviously, we'll warm up to it. But then, that one felt good. Cool, I'm going to try 90%. Cool, I'm going to try 95%. And then maybe I stay there, okay? Or kind of build throughout. Could be like 2 at 85, 2 at 90, 2 at 95. But I'm going to leave this open as 8 sets of one within that percentage range. So that way the athletes and the coaches can kind of work through what makes the most sense for them for that day. Because sometimes it's more about touching something that feels heavy for the day versus trying to make an exact percentage fit. Because some days you just don't have it, and other days maybe if I just said, hey, we're going to do all 90%, well, 90% might feel easy for someone that day, and they need to do more of it 95%. So we're going to leave that kind of open, but I'm going to say I want every 2.5 minutes, we're going to do a rep. All right. That way we're guided with some rest there in between those heavy, and I'm going to follow each set by some kind of core work. So something that's not going to jack the heart rate up, but that will get the core a little more active and still allow you to rest. So I'm just going to put core work here for now and let my brain kind of think on it. Core work in between while we do this. Again, I didn't really think about any of this. I'm just kind of doing it as we go. Sometimes I have this on my computer. I get to walk away. I get to come back. But we're live, so I don't get to do that today. Right. So I've built my squat day. I've built my bench day. Now I'm going to build my deadlift day. Deadlifts to me.
We do have a lot of requests on the deadlift
Oh,
day.
man. A lot of requests. Here we go. All right, let's hear them.
Yep,
Let's hear them.
there have been multiple people in the chat wanting a conga line deadlift.
Conga line deadlift. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. I like that idea. Okay, so let me ask this back to the chat then. Is the Congo line deadlift, do we start at, if you're in this max range, you group with these people? Or is it kind of like, hey, everyone just get together based off of what you think is right? And then also, are we setting specific weight jumps? So like, let's say one group starts at 200, then they have to go to 220, then 240, then 260, then 280, then 300, and so on and so forth? Or is it percentage based? Or is it just whatever that group thinks the next best lift is? So I'm going to ask that back to y'all and see if we got any answers there. I do like the idea of the Congo line.
I will let you know as soon as the first person that answers this, they'll get the programming.
So there you go. So let's go ahead and say deadlift, Congo line day. Congo line, right? With an A? There's an O.
Colin Walters, align with like max.
Align with like max. Okay, but then the jumps. So
Groups,
do we...
Okay, Ryan, groups with set jumps sounds fun.
So specifically, like, this group's going to start at 300, then they're going to do 320, then 340, then 360, then 380, so on and so forth. Okay, I like it. Y'all are all going to make fun of me, but I'm going to put Congo line because I think that's right. But it could be with an O, or it could be both. It could be either. Congo line deadlifts. Group up. Ideally, see, this is in my head though. I feel like this is kind of hard because, right, we have to have so many groups for the weights that we have in the gym, right? So this is another thing we have to think about when we're programming for the gym is like, is this doable? Which, some people could start a little lighter and people could just jump in later, right? We could have groups. So we need to think about weight changes, weights available, and then how many people are showing up to a class, right? Because there's probably going to be some morning classes where 9 a.m., like one person's going to be at this weight, one person, and they're just going to kind of do their own thing, which is fine for a day like this, right? This style of something definitely makes it more fun for the bigger classes. Like, for instance, we had 21 people at 4:30 yesterday. So if we had something like this program yesterday at 4:30, we would definitely get some solid groups of 3, 4, maybe 5 people, which would definitely make this fun. So we'll continue with this idea. If it doesn't make sense after we get through it, maybe we find a way to kind of adjust it. But we'll say group up based on percents, based on, 1 reps, 1 rep max, and we'll say around 200, 250, 300, 350, 400. Actually, let's just do this. Boom. 200 plus, 300 plus, 400 plus. That gives us less things, and we'll do a 100 plus group. All right. That could be a mix of males and females on bars, kind of where they're at. So that would also help. And then we would have 4 base groups based off of anyone that's in that class, right? And that doesn't mean that if you're in the 200 group, you stop at 300. Like, you're just going to start at, let's say, 200. If your 1 rep is above that, well, I guess that doesn't really make sense either, because say my 1 rep's 220, we can't start at 200, right? Let's see. Here's where we're thinking. This is where it's got to make sense. Based on 1 rep maxes, how do we guide people into the proper?
Would you drop below a group? So if I deadlifted 300 or 315, would I want to drop into the 200?
Start at the 200
Yeah.
weight. Yeah.
And then the other follow-up we did have in the chat is, how many lifts would you want people to do ideally for the conga line?
That's where this also gets tough, because it's such a wide range, right? Mm-hmm. Unless we have people within a 20 pound, all these guys or all these ladies are within 20 pounds of each other, now we can get way more specific. But I think the idea of the conga line is not specific rep ranges. It's more of the energy, the excitement of being with each other, and just kind of seeing where you end up, right? We're not really counting those reps necessarily as working weights. It's more like, ooh, that felt good, cool, I get to rest. Now it's coming back around to me, and that's where that push comes in with something like this versus, so again, back to our first question, more of science or art. The trying to get ideal rep ranges in would be more of the science. The art is more of this is more of the fun class environment type of build. But that being said, if someone's at a 400 plus deadlift, I don't want them starting at 135 pounds and making 10-pound jumps, right? Because then they're doing 50 lifts, or something dumb. So I would say, on a day like this, somewhere around 10, could be 8, could be 12, but maybe around 10 reps would be pretty solid. I think anytime you're lifting for something heavy, as you can see with kind of what we're doing here, I'm building to a heavy double. I got 3 sets of 2 more. I'm probably going to get to a heavy double, I don't know, in 6 sets of 2 or something like that. So I'm in 10 sets of 2, right? And when I'm thinking about programming for something heavy, I'm thinking 8 to 12 reps, usually not more than 15. 15 would be stupid for 90%, 15 by 1, right? If you think about that at 90%, you'd be like, God, that's going to kill me. So somewhere between 8 to 12 is ideally what we're looking for, I think, when we're building towards a heavy, or thinking today's more of a heavy day, not kind of an endurance day or whatever, where we might be doing sets of 5s or 7s or something like that, right? Truly a 5 by 1 would be true, strength, power, kind of oriented, science-based lifting. But again, this is CrossFit. We like to have a little bit more fun and push it a little bit more. Let's just say conga line deadlifts, groups based on 1 rep max. I like the idea of dropping down a group. So let's just group up based off of, again, 100, 200, 300, like if your deadlift starts with that first number, then you're going to start at the weight prior. So if I'm in the 300 group, like 375, then I'm going to start at 200. All right. So everyone that's in the threes is going to start at 2, and they're going to go 200, 220, or 225 might be easier numbers. 245, 275, 295, 315, so on and so forth. So basically we're going to add 10s, 25s, or change them out for 45s. And we're going to keep adding weight in that kind of pattern. And so then the 200 group would start at 100, and they would probably do, 115, 135, 150. Well, we can make the numbers make more sense later, so that I'm not doing all that math right now. But before we do this day, we'll have some set jumps that each group is going to specifically hit as they go through this. So that way, hopefully, majority of the people in the 300 group are getting through. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's already 6, right? If I'm in this 300 group, I would say if I'm a 305 deadlifter, then hopefully I get a little bit of a push here. I might be on the lower end of people getting reps in today, but most of the people in this group might be in that 350 to 375. So they're going to end up getting 8, 9, 10, 11 reps, right? And then if they're in the 385, 395, their last lift might be 405, 415 for the day or something like that. But we'll have those specific weights. So that way it's like you have to hit these, you have to try them. Which might cause a new 1 rep max just for the fun of it. But also hopefully will just be a little bit more fun of like we built to a 97% on accident or something like that, right? So I like that idea. The real question is how long is something like that going to take? Because this is in class, right? So I have to have a warm up. I have to be able to do all of that with all those weights and all those weight changes. So personally, when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking that's going to take most of class, right? So how we like to program around here, or how at least I like to think about it, is like I still don't want to just do deadlifts for the day. I want to end on something else. So I'm going to try to think of something later that's around a 5 to 7 minute kind of finisher for the day. That gives us a chance to maybe get a little more cardio in, and probably will be more upper body oriented since we use a lot of lower body and core drive through the deadlift there, or hinging. So we'll see how it goes. Another thing when building and respecting the heavy day, especially as I'm getting towards a 1 rep max, is I don't want to really program something that's going to like heavy interfere right after doing deadlifts or back squats or bench press, right? Like I'm not going to do a heavy singles and then just go tear my muscles up by doing like an endurance workout with those same muscles. So we're going to try to kind of like or counterbalance. That's a better word. Counterbalance kind of what we're doing here. That's where we're at. We got some back squats. We got some bench press. We got some deadlifts. Any other comments out of the people watching right now?
We do have a request for death by of wall walks.
Death by wall walks. Interesting. So shoulder burner. Okay. All right. Death by wall walks. Who requested that?
A Mrs. Savage requested that.
Death by wall walks.
We also got a request.
I mean, that could be after deadlift day.
The
I kinda like that.
limiting the hate for the 9 a.m. class. We did get a comment about that.
Not hating. I'm just saying. Other than Friday, I will say Fridays. So maybe on this deadlift day, Fridays, 9 a.m., they do get some love. They get 10, 12 people in there. So, show up to 9 a.m. more or invite people if you need a bigger 9 a.m.
Besides those couple things, though, it looks like we are all
I actually
caught up.
kind of like this for now. Let's just throw it over here and see what happens. So we will do death by wall walks as an imam. After our heavy deadlifts. Boom. For now. If it makes sense somewhere else later, we might change it. But I kind of like that because that would give us a lot of leg drive, some core from just bracing. But then under fatigue, am I good on my hands? And for most people, I think that death by wall walk is going to end around 7 or less, right? Even personally, I'm looking at that and I'm going, yeah, 7's not that bad. But then I'm like 7 back to 8 sounds pretty miserable, right? And I'm pretty good at wall walks. And so I'm already thinking that 8 area is going to be pretty tough. And boy, if you get through 8, I doubt you're making 9. And that's just off the top of the head. I think even 5 to 6 is going to be pretty, like that minute 5 to minute 6 could end up being pretty rough. So I kind of like that as our quick finisher for the day after doing some fun, heavy deadlifts. And with that, we can line everyone up on the wall at the same time. Everyone just kind of finds a slot. And then if we need to scale that, we'll maybe do some shoulder taps or finding ways to get some endurance in for some people, some kettlebell pull throughs, things like that. All right, so we got Friday pretty much done. I like it. I like the way it looks. All right, so now swing it back to if we hit some squats and we're going to hit some bench press. I kind of want to me, something we've been working on, or I want to throw in there is some kind of other lift, right? Because we're pressing here, I'm going to probably say I'm not going to do jerks here. Or any kind of other overhead pressing, any kind of pressing motion. But I like the idea of probably a power clean or a power snatch because we're hinging and driving here, but it's more not powerful. It's slow, but I can still drive and pull something. I'm not getting in a squat position, and that can either be in the front rack or the overhead position, depending on what we've been working on. But we have been hitting some cleans lately with some squat cleans and stuff. So I like the idea of sticking with maybe a power clean here for the day. And so sticking with the fact that I've done heavy, then this makes me feel like maybe we need to go a little bit lighter and do some technique work towards that power clean, because I don't want to fry my central nervous system and then fry my central nervous system and then fry my central nervous system and then do it again, right? So I'm going to try to, this is going to be tough. Let's make this fun, but technique based. And then we're going to go tough. And then this is kind of our day off. And then Friday looks like a really fun, solid day already. So for me, I'm going to put power clean up here. Power clean. And to make sure that we're dialed in on technique focus and not going crazy heavy, I'm going to say let's do 5 sets every 2:33. We go every 3. That's 15 minutes of work. We're going to do... I just had another idea pop in my head, but I'm going to lead with this. 7 reps must be touch and go. All right, this must be touch and go is going to force it to not be crazy heavy, right? So by forcing you to hang on, it's going to be in a range that isn't crazy strenuous strength-wise, but will definitely force good technique. Right? I'm going to need to be able to hold on, tap, drive, catch, reset, tap, drive, catch, so on and so forth. And that will hopefully make people start lighter and build. So I'm going to say we can build through that. Must be touch and go. Every 3 minutes is when we're going to hit a window and can build as needed. All right. So that's going to give us a good day to work through some power clean work and something that we don't really do necessarily a lot, force high volume touch and go reps. So as a coach looking at this, I can take the day to really focus on some technique things, walk my class through that stuff. And again, we're going to take some strain off the body for most people and ask them to make sure that we're hitting all 7 reps, that we're not failing on like the 3rd or the 4th rep, especially in set 2 or 3 or something like that, right? So we got all of our strength pieces in line. Is this kind of how you do it, or do you do something different? Do you start with your strength How do you just throwing it out there?
Pretty similar. Like you said, we know what we're working on. We're working on the back squat, deadlift, bench press, rings, and core. So, kind of building around pretty much those movements there, and then usually it'll become like, okay, what's going to be like the focus workout that I want to make sure that we do, and then I'll kind of build around that as well. So it's pretty the same so far.
100%. Yep. So I like that. The fact that sometimes, whether it's a workout I've seen in the past that week, something I just thought was cool, something that came to mind, I'll usually be like, yeah, I want to do that. Like that's a workout I kind of want to do. Right. And we had some of those from the games side of stuff. But then, there's been a couple that I've just kind of seen some ideas. One of the other notes that I've had for myself, on the computer is fun and different. Boop, 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 boom. And just to kind of like, we did the 2-2-2-3 interval. Last Saturday it was like a 12-minute AMRAP, rest a little bit, 12-minute AMRAP, with buy-ins, right? So like just trying to make sure that we're not always just like, we're going to do a 10-minute AMRAP or 4 rounds for time. Like how can we change some things up? And one of my thoughts coming up here today was something I don't know if we've ever done. It was part of the Open, and it's a very rare thing. And I'm just trying to see where it fits here. The workout in my head is 90 handstand push-ups, 60 box jump overs, 30 front squats. Break it up how you want. Right? So it's 4 time, 90, 60, 30. But you can do, 10, 6, 3 for however many rounds. You could just do chunks of each thing. You could just try to bang out one thing at a time. And so with that, I know I'm going to have some pressing overhead, through the shoulders and the triceps. I know I'm going to have, box jumps, right? And then I'm going to have some front squats. Probably at we'll call it a moderate weight for 30 reps. I don't want it to be too light because I don't want it to be like an unbroken thing. And so for me, where I'm seeing this kind of fit in my head right now is probably on Wednesday. So I did some heavy pressing. My triceps are warm, but they're not quite fried. And the handstand push-up should be more shoulder tricep and shouldn't really affect my chest too much. Now, if these were burpee box jumps, I'd probably look at putting this on a different day, because of the max or the amount of volume there. And also knowing that these are going to be regular potential kipping handstand push-ups. So we're really actually putting more on skill and a little bit of hip drive as well with the arms. So I don't think putting this pressing here for the handstand push-ups is going to overly affect what we're doing there with the bench press that day. So I'm going to write this out as 90 HSPU, 60 box jump over, and we're going to make this 30-24 for now because I like the idea of that. And we're going to do 30 front squats from the ground. Really, we could take these from the rig. Depends on the weight we choose because we're not using the rig for anything else for the day. So we could potentially do that if we wanted to. Break up how you want or partition. Let's say that partition. If I write scrappy enough, maybe y'all won't tell me I'm wrong. Partition as wanted. Yes, I know I can't spell. SugarWad has spell check, so you're welcome. And so now I just need to pick a weight for my front squats, which off the top of my head, I'm thinking 135-95, or slightly heavier. So I know this is going to take me. So this is another thing we need to think about. We have an hour, right? And so I know I got a brief. I got a warm up. Let's say all of that hopefully is within about 15 minutes. We got to build towards our 85 to 95%. That's going to be another 5 to 10 minutes. So we're at 25. So then now every 2.5 minutes. So maybe we're going to change that to every 2 minutes. We'll do 1 rep. We'll see what that looks like, right? So then that's 16 minutes. So that leaves me, this could be like a 12-minute time cap here. 12 to 15. We do that. We do that. I like 135.95, especially since we're squatting heavier here. And although some people will be able to do big sets, it definitely won't be 30 unbroken. And if you do huge sets here, it's probably going to affect you here. But it gives you the option, if you're that person that wants to hang on to that bar, to do that. So I kind of like the way that looks. Partition as wanted. We're going to make that a 4-time. Boom, boom, boom. And we now have our A and our B. And I might take my core workout now, since we're doing some heavier core related things there. For now, we can always throw it back in later. I like the way that looks. So then we're going upside down again on Friday. I don't love that, but the only other option would be to like take this whole day, throw it over here, put squatting over here. We can talk about that at the end, see what that looks like by the time we come up with another workout. We will have a day in between for the shoulders to recover, but we're not putting too much pressure on the body there as well. I mean, really, we could probably also move this to here, but that's a lot of hip drive and hinging and front rack. Could overdo the old hip flexies there a little bit. So I'm gonna leave that for now, as is, and then I might look at switching Monday and Wednesday based off of what else we come up with here. So we got handstand push-ups, we got box jump overs, we got front squats. Now I know, because it's not up here anywhere, I need to do some pulling for the week. I definitely want to hit that, and I need to get some rings up here as well. So I'm liking the idea of some kind of gymnastics workout with, that's a 9, I wanted to pull up. Pull up / chest to bar and ring push-ups. Maybe. Yeah. As after we lift, so it's going to be legs. Now we're going to go arms. And then how do we add our cardio in here? We got power cleans there. I feel like we could make this pretty grippy and fun by adding some double underzone. So, art's clicking. All right. We're going to go 3 rounds of 10 pull-ups, 30 double unders, 10 ring push-ups, and then we're going to go directly into 1 round of 20 chest to bar, 60 double unders. Ooh, I lied. No, I like that. And then 30 regular push-ups. Maybe. Or 20, sorry. That's what I meant, right? 20. 20, 60, 20. Boom. Pull up double under, ring push up, chest bar double under push up. Could be 30, 90, 30, but that's 60.
The math looks very pretty if you do a 30, 90,
I know. I do like the 30, 90, 30 look. I'm just also thinking of the amount of press that might be. Actually like that better. 30, 90, 30. Because the regular push-ups, taking the rings out, will be all right there. And that gives us a high volume gymnastics on the higher end that maybe we hadn't seen in a while. The other thing we could do, let's do this. Boom, boom, boom. Let's break the higher volume, or the harder movement, sorry. And then this can be more of a push. So we're going down in skill, but up in reps. But we'll keep the double unders there, all right? Because for people that can do double unders well, that's not going to be too big of a difference maker. And then, so what we'll suggest for class is like, stick with single unders, stick with crossover, stick with double unders for the jump rope here. But let's try to pick a harder movement because we're able to break these up into chunks. And then let's finish with some easier gymnastics movements that you can push a little bit more. And so that will be our for time workout. And boom, boom, boom. For time. 3 rounds, 10 chest to bar, 30 double unders, 10 ring push-ups, and then 1 round directly into, without any rest, 30 pull-ups, 90 double unders, 30 push-ups. The real big thing that I'm seeing here, and we'll kind of figure that out with class, is that we're going to have people kipping on the rig while we have the rings in the middle, but we can face out, and the rings are now on the top, so they can kind of slide and adjust more towards the middle of the rig. So as we're coaching, we'll just make sure that people are facing out on the rig, we're not getting kicked, and that you're trying to use the set of rings that are right near where you're doing your gymnastics movement as well. So I do like that there. So we have 15 minutes to build to a heavy 2, and then we have drop sets at 90% of 3 sets of 2. And let's say I want to try to get all of this done in 25 minutes. So we'll hit 15 minutes to do that, and then we'll have 10 minutes to hit our additional 3 sets of 2. So now I have 25 minutes of squatting. I have a warm-up and a brief I need to get to. Let's say that's 30 minutes, so that, or 15 minutes. All right, so at 25 plus 15 is 40. 40?
Yep.
40 minutes. So I still have a pretty solid amount of time here to leave a time cap. In my head, looking at this, when I come up with time caps, I'm trying to think, okay, what is someone that's going to be able to push this going to get? And then I want to leave a couple extra minutes for those that can still do the movements and want the chance to be able to finish it. And then hopefully our skilled athletes end up somewhere in between. And then some people will try to do it RX, and they'll hopefully at least get somewhere in this area, at least through these 3 rounds, trying to get through that volume. So for me, I'm thinking 10 chest to bar, let's call it 30 seconds, 30 double unders, 30 seconds, 10 ring push-ups, 30 seconds. So that's a minute and a half. Now that's my first round, right? I'm going back to chest to bar, might take me a little bit more, but let's just say on average, I got a minute and a half, minute 45 and 2 minutes. So I slow down a little bit as I'm going. So we'll say that's about 5.5 minutes there. And then I'm going to drop down here, 30 pull-ups, tired, minute and a half. So now I'm at 7. These could be unbroken, but probably not. So a minute and a half, looking at 8.5, and then 30 push-ups, probably for me, 2 minutes. And I'm just basing this off of me. So I'm around that 10-minute area. And there's some people that are better at gymnastics, right? But they might struggle more at the double unders. And then you have some people that, might do this as an EMOM. They might just blow right through this. But I do think, like, even if you could do this in a minute with all the transitioning, you'd be looking at 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So I think in my head, I want to make this a 12-minute cap. which gives, I think you're going to see some people in that 8 area, or less. Let's say 7, 8 area. Your better, more gymnastics ability people. And then I think that gives us a couple more minutes for those people that want to work through that. And anyone that's still working at the 12-minute mark, you've probably done enough pulling and pushing for the day, or jumping double underwise. So I like a 12-minute cap there. That still fits within our 20-minute window, and it gives us 8 minutes of buffer throughout the class as we're going through that. How's my chat doing? Are they agreeing with me? Probably not. I feel like we always get the most gripe on our time caps. That's not doable.
So far so good. Nothing too out of the ordinary.
All right. I like it. Still don't have a time cap over here for my bench press workout, or my for time workout here. Pulls, push-ups, double unders. We'll see what we come up with here, but I'm starting to think that I'm liking the idea of flopping these two. So let's see. What else have we not touched? We haven't touched a dumbbell. We went below parallel. We're squatting again here, right? We're hinging and hinging. We are pressing. So what is something? We're not running yet, but we are doing double unders here, and we're jumping there. So running might be off the table. So I'm looking at probably either a row or a bike workout for Tuesday. Just because personally, after jumping, adding more jumping, if we run, that's a lot on the Achilles and the calves. And even if I flop those two, that still makes this kind of tough. So I would say after a squat, we could do both rowing and biking. And then that puts me in like a cardio area. So we have 15 minutes of work there on the power cleans. So really we could, here's where the hate's going to come. Oop. Do a 20-minute AMRAP of something bike, something row, something.
I did get a question here with a follow-up of good question, so I'm going to ask this while we're thinking about this next one for Tuesday. Do you ever think about workouts being in the same time domain throughout the week?
Yes. Time domain is huge, which is why I just wrote a 20-minute AMRAP. I want to cover something bigger or longer, long distance. We do have something shorter over here, right? And yes, that is going to be skill-based, but this also is going to hurt within a couple of minutes. It's not necessarily a Fran, if you will, or leave you on the ground. But I don't necessarily think we need a Fran filling workout every week. So the most bang for your buck that we're going to get is between that 8 to 12 minute window most of the time, because we can keep that intense and get a good bit of movements in there. We do need the 3 to 5 minute workouts, and we do need the 20 to 30 minute workouts. Now on a normal programmed week, Saturdays, I'm always going to have a longer workout. And I know not everyone makes it to Saturdays, but when I'm looking at programming for the week, I include that because there are people that do make it to those days, and those are going to be our longer cardio days, as well as on a Thursday, an off day. That could be a day people are going running or hiking or recovering or whatever. So for me, programming something in the 20-minute range is pretty long endurance-wise for a class. But then sometimes that's also why you'll see a day where we won't have strength, and we'll just have like a 35 or a 40-minute workout during the week as well. Because again, I don't need one of those every week, but I probably need them every other week, every 3 weeks, something like that. And same thing on the high intensity side, right? And also again, we are programming, I don't know if I said this earlier, but for just all well roundness, right? what's the term? Physical prepared. I don't know why I just lost that. Basically for everyone to be physically prepared, but not like, like we're not trying to make everyone in here a games athlete, or everyone in here an endurance athlete, or everyone in here a gymnast, or everyone in here a weightlifter, right? We're trying to cover well-roundedness. So kind of these things, putting them in here and there makes sense. And again, are we making it fun? Are we changing it up? Does it make sense for the amount of people that are coming through for a class, and the equipment that we have? So those are kind of all things that we're trying to think about, and making sure that we're testing things here and there. So hopefully that answers your question. But yes, time domains do matter. And if I get done programming in a week and they all kind of look the same, then I will typically go back and adjust and make one more intense, or more interval style, so it has more intensity to it instead of just like a 3 rounds for time. So sometimes I might change, or 5 rounds for time, right? Might get changed to 2 minutes on, 1 minute off. Your slowest round is your score. Now all of a sudden that became a way more intense workout than just 5 rounds for time. So those things change things up as well. Which maybe one of these gets changed to that. So going back to my 20-minute AMRAP, which I'm liking, the little bike row here. Man, burpees just popped into my head. Y'all better be glad. There's a lot of pressing already in the week. But we're jumping to, we got burpees, we got jump roping, slam balls, man. I love me some slam balls. And some sit-ups, some core work, some toe to bar, some knee raises. We took our core work off over here, so this could be a pretty solid core, but I don't want to do toe to bar because we got a lot of hip flexor here, right? High volume wise. I do, however, like the idea of a slam ball. And what else do we have? Sometimes too in my head, I like to go around the room in my head and be like, oh, what's not up here? What haven't we touched here? And I also feel like we haven't touched slam balls in a little while.
Thoughts on a farmer's carry?
Yeah, I had that thought as well. Stated here, some kettlebell farmer's carry in there, just as some distance. But curveball. Do we make the row harder or do we make the bike harder? All right, let's go bike. Slam ball. Farmer's carry. (100-meter) farmer's carry. A little further than usual. A little further. Could even go 200, but I feel like 200 is a little far for, well, it is a 20-minute AMRAP here.
So the other thought was a suitcase carry, and could you do a 200-meter suitcase? Then you can switch on and off.
So what if we did, that's going to affect that. We could do, here we go. What do we got? Bench press. Boom, boom. All right. Now I'm going back to feet because I just thought of something. 200-foot farmers. Sorry, suitcase. Ooh, now I'm really thinking. What do we think here? We're going to do... All right, let me just erase all this. Now I got it. And then we're going to see how many rounds we're looking at. We're going to do a 20 and 16 cal bike. A 200-meter suitcase carry. Switch how you would like. with, I think just a 53-35 is probably solid there, because that's a long distance. Then we're going to hit a 30 and 22 cal row. And then we're going to do a 100 meter front rack. See, front rack's going to get bad with the kettlebell because everyone's going to put it on their shoulder. They're not going to do this. Overhead. How do we feel about that?
There was literally a comment that said overhead carry as you were writing it.
Nice. Let's go. Let's go. Because that's still going to hit core and stability here. I don't think it really affects our pressing here. Like, yeah, some shoulders are going to be tired, but you can also alternate that arm as you want. So these are going to be, it's going to be one kettlebell, and you're going to stick with that weight, right? Or a dumbbell. We could probably, hey, kettlebell or dumbbell. I think a kettlebell helps a little bit more, but we'll just say, we'll let people kind of choose kettlebell or dumbbell, whatever they're more happy with there, right? So I really like that a lot, because that's going to be some good cardio, some good core work in there for the week. And it's going to be a different kind of challenge, that's for sure. Because this really, if you're a scoreboard person, you're going to be having to hold on to the suitcase carry, and especially this overhead carry once we get into that round like 3. Because in my head, I'm looking at this, I'm going, okay, a 20 cal bike right out the gate, maybe a minute and a half. That suitcase carry is going to take a solid probably 2 to 3 minutes probably if you're walking. So then we're looking at 4, 5, 6, 7. What do you think? 7 minutes around? Something like that.
I guess the other thought is, would you want to regulate people having to walk, or are you okay with them like
don't want
running?
them running?
Okay.
I mean, overhead carry you're definitely not going to run with.
There's just a couple people
Yeah,
that
I know. They're worried about the old time.
Yeah. But if it is like, okay, we're gonna walk at a brisk pace, but we're not gonna run, then yeah, I think 7 minutes around is probably pretty fair.
Just to make this more, like, I want people to do more of the overhead carries. I think I'm gonna go 100 meters on both, and I'm gonna reduce the calories as well. I want to make this more about the carries than the machines. So I'm going to go 15, 12. And I'm going to go 20, 16. And yeah, I think that becomes a way better workout where we're spending more time doing the carries, but still getting some good heart rate interval. Got to change it up and do something else there. Boom. I like it. It's coming together. A, B, A, B, A, B, right? So, man, it's been a while since I've done this on a whiteboard, looking at all this. I don't think I've ever used a whiteboard, actually. Now I'm thinking about it. I've used paper. Never used a whiteboard. All right. Boom. So now we have our accessory work day that we need to do, and our partner WOD day if we were having a partner WOD, although we are not. And let's see. So I like to program the partner WOD. The accessory work day is kind of the last thing I like to do. I like to make sure that we're getting in all the meat of the work, and then kind of go back and look at, like, all right, what could we do here or there for the people that are showing up and want to do it. So off the top of my head, we haven't run this week. Saturday, partner WOD. I'm going to try to throw some running in there. And that gives our calves, Achilles, a little bit of a break because, again, we're doing it Monday, Wednesday, but we're not probably touching it Thursday and definitely not Friday. So Saturday should be an all right day to run. We did, let's see here. So when it comes to partner WODs, we can do some synchro things. We can do some interval things, right? Something we have not done in a while, which I think would be kind of fun. Which again, I know we're not doing it this week, but partner A runs 400 meters. While partner B does some work towards an AMRAP. And then you switch every time the runner comes in. And we're going to do that. Let's call this a 25-minute AMRAP. Because that will be both partners working the entire time, unless they want to sit there and look at each other. Partner WOD, 25-minute AMRAP. Partner A runs 400 meters. Partner B is going to hit an AMRAP. We could make this a 3-person team workout, where that way there is some rest in there during the AMRAP. Like 2 partners are working on the AMRAP while 1 partner's running, and it's kind of a 3-person switch. So maybe let's look at that as teams of 3. Of 3. And B and C AMRAP while we do that. And still like 25 minutes because it takes us some time to warm up, get our stuff together on Saturday, and that's still a lot of time under tension there. So now we're looking at, okay, what haven't we done this week? What did we do the day before, the couple days before, right? So we know we went heavy with deadlifts, right? It's going to be a little bit of that back and hamstring, which then this running on Saturday, kind of depending on who you are, gives you a chance to maybe flush that out a little bit, which in a workout like this as well, it's not about the run time, right? It's about the partners doing the AMRAP. So I can jog this 400 meters at a recovery pace while my partners are actually inside kind of chipping away and building our score, right? But you also don't want to be the one that's out there walking and they're like, why did it take you 8 minutes to do 400 meters and we were in here dying? So I like that idea. And then what is something else that would be fun that we hadn't done, right? Kind of already on like a burpee over bar mindset. Something about that just sounds fun. We did some heavy lifting. We did some shoulder work. So definitely don't want to really hinge. I'm thinking something along the lines. Let's build something with burpees. Faux show. Another thing that I like to think about, which I know doesn't always line up, is like Saturdays are really like our free days for community and like people to invite people. So friends are going to be coming. So like I don't want to go create, like I don't want to be like squat snatching most of the time or like, you know, legless rope climbs, which I know we did last Saturday. I'm just throwing it out there. Bar muscle ups, like those harder movements that are, you know, not doable for a lot of people. I try to keep them more in the range of things that a lot of people can do, and it'll be like, man, that was like a good hard workout. So like, you know, I kind of want to come back and do this. So I'm thinking like burpees. We didn't slam ball earlier, so something with maybe slam balls and maybe some lunges. Get those quads and that butt going a little bit, which will also make the run a little bit worse. So let's go with some decent numbers here of AMRAP 20 B O B. Really, we could just go across the board with 20s, I think. 20 slam balls. And then 20 front rack lunges. And I want those to be lighter. So I'm going to say like a 95, 65. So that way it's something that's kind of continuously being cycled. And again, we went heavy the day before. So I'm not looking for like a a heavy, like a 185 front squat or front rack lunge, right? And again, we're going to be doing this for 25 minutes, and this is going to be split between 2 people. So in my head, I'm thinking I do 10, my partner does 10. I do 10, my partner does 10. I do 10, my partner does 10. And then if that takes about 2 minutes, that person's coming back. We're switching. I have to do 2 back-to-back rounds of my 10 because someone's going to be switching out. And I think for 25 minutes, that looks like it would be pretty rough in the sense of like we're going to be moving. We're going to be the body's going to stay moving, sweating, and all that stuff. But again, we're not going heavy. There's going to be some breaks in there. And, basically we're just keeping the body moving for the day. So I kind of like the way that looks. What you think, Nate? Yeah. What you think, chat? This is the first time I've ever gone live with the chat. Second time. They're not giving me a whole lot of feedback. Maybe they're liking what they're seeing, or they left. They could have left.
No, I mean they're still
here. They're
still
just hanging
consistent.
out.
Yeah.
Is anyone hating it yet? Is anyone complaining?
Surprisingly, no complaints
No?
really.
Oh man, Robbie must not be in there then.
Robbie was here a minute ago.
He's gone.
There's a lot of talk about Oscar.
Oscar hinging.
Yeah, with the bike and all of the slam ball, the row, all that.
Yeah.
No one's mad.
No one's mad. All right, I like it. Personally, I'm looking at this, and I do want to try to find a way to maybe get some more ring work in. So that could be our accessory work for the Thursday here, but also could we do some kind of finisher, optional finisher here that is just like, we'll call it 3 sets of a max stability hold on the rings. And you can choose high or low, extended or set. And that could just be a thing that like, hey, I want to do a little bit more ring work. I've been working on it. Cool. And if not, you don't have to do it for the day if you're pretty tired afterwards. So it's there for the ones that want to do it. And I think that still fits on that day with what we want. Because I'm thinking now this handstand push-up workout's not going to take that long. So we got 16 minutes. I'm just going to throw a time cap out there of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 minutes. Partitioned as wanted with a 15-minute cap. I think our better athletes we will see under that for sure. I'm not going to say well under that. I think 10 would be a solid time. But I'm guessing somewhere between 10 to 12 would be where some people might finish that. The 90 handstand push-ups will be interesting because I think your heavier gymnastics aren't going to cycle this as much. I don't know. This to me looks like a Ryan Savage workout kind of though, because his handstand push-ups have been a lot better lately. I don't know about that 90 number though. I think if it was in the 50 to 60 range, he'd still be there. We'll see with the 60 to 90, those 30 extra reps, if they affect him or not. But like the 135 bar, he's going to hang on to that for a while. The box jumps aren't going to affect him as much. This is a 30-inch box, which is going to make a pretty solid difference here. So maybe it comes down to how you break it up. What do you think? 15 minutes? Yeah? What do you think, chat? All right, so I like where we're at there. That'll be fun, and then that should leave a little bit of time afterwards, 10 minutes maybe at the end of class, depending on how it goes with transitions and things like that, for those that want to stay and do it. All right, so we got open gym, we got accessory work, we got some things here and there, and we want to do some interval stuff potentially or some cardio. So I like to think of like some kind of strength work, some kind of cardio, and then some kind of core work usually. So my strength, again, we're not doing a whole lot of pulling here. So I'm going to say let's do some pulling like bodybuilding style work. Like 4 sets of 10 dumbbell rows. Or let's go 8. I like 8 and we'll do each side. 8 dumbbell rows each side. Let's do 8. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can do here. I love some lat pull downs. So maybe let's go 8 banded lat pull downs. Let's go. Got row, got a pull. We could do some curls in there, some bicep curls. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go 8 dumbbell hammer curls. Whoop. Together. And a max effort dead hang. Work on a little grip strength there. Boom. We're going to do some rows, some lat pull downs, some hammer curls, and then we're going to hang on the rig. Nice and active. 3 to 4 sets. That'd be some good upper body accessory work for the day. Boom. Now let's throw some cardio on there. We biked, we rode, we've done some things. Not necessarily long, so I'm going to say let's go 3 sets, any machine, of 5 minutes on, 2 minutes off. So more of a lower intensity machine work there, of just kind of like moving, like hopping on a bike, gonna move for 5 minutes, chill for 2 minutes, or I'm gonna row for 5 minutes. And you could alternate, maybe I row, maybe I bike, and then I ski or something like that, right? Or you could stick with the same one, but basically I'm just gonna work on getting my heart up, back down, back up, back down. And then we'll end up with some core works here. Core work, boom, 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 because everyone needs more core work. In my mind, we all need it. And we got a lot of hinging in there, so maybe some good solid plank work. Some sandbag work is always fun. Trying to think of some other things before I start writing. Supermans, hollow rocks, barbell rollout stuff, barbell sit-ups. All those things are usually pretty solid. So I kind of like that. So let's say 4 sets, 3 to 4 sets. It's always a good option. Ooh, no, we already did some overhead carries. All right. Let's say 5 to 8 barbell rollouts. 5 to 8 barbell sit-ups. And then I want to add some like lateral in there. So let's go 10 to 20 heel taps. Where you lay on your back and yeah. Cool. There we go. There's some good accessory work for the week. Could do some hanging side crunches. There's all kinds of stuff. Could get a kettlebell out. But I kind of like the way that looks. So, yeah. Now that I'm looking at it, stepping back and looking at it, I I kind of like how we have things stacked because I now put my pull-ups here, got my accessory work here that's pulling. I don't necessarily think that these handstand push-ups are really going to affect these wall walks because, again, it is more stepping or more pressing, and we have some stability work here as well in the overhead position. So I think with that day off, if you rest appropriately, we should be able to come in, hit some good wall walks, and again, maybe it's not your day to full send it. You're just going to get some good work in because the majority of the day is going to be focused on those heavy deadlifts, right? So I think looks pretty solid for the week. I'll definitely get it all typed out in SugarWOD, take another look at it just to make sure it still makes sense in my head and that I didn't like miss something with everything that's up here. And yeah, that's kind of how a week is built. And again, sometimes I'll throw some stuff up there. I'll move it around. I'll usually leave myself some notes if there's some ideas or a workout that didn't work that I thought I wanted to do, or it just didn't make sense. Like I had a 40-minute workout in here, but it's like, oh, I need to do that. Or I don't know. There's all kinds of things. And I'll just take it and I'll move it on SugarWOD to the next time I program. So it's still there as an idea or as a fully programmed workout that may or may not fit as a puzzle piece until it does kind of match up or until I adjust it to kind of the way I like it for a week. And then I'll kind of leave that alone. But I know personally in SugarWOD, I don't know if you've ever seen it on my weeks, I have like a running note of stuff that I feel like we need to touch that we haven't touched or just some ideas that are there. So that way, like my brain, every time I pull it up is starting to kind of pick back up where I left off. But again, there's some good in looking at things on Instagram or what other people have done. But does it make sense and can we fit it into a weaker program? Is that kind of a workout that would be cool or a style of workout? Or again, like we talked about last week with like the whole games thing of like, ooh, that would be kind of fun to do. So then, okay, can I take a piece and put it into my following week? But I would say if we weren't building towards the 1 rep, I would have loved to do the running deadlift handstand walk workout. So maybe post our test, we could see some of those things coming back. And that's another thing too, is like, the games just happen and those workouts are there. That doesn't mean we can't do them in October, November, December. Like we can still go back and pull those pieces. And then I will say, I don't know if we're going to do this again or not, but since we're on kind of the topic of programming, right, we're doing these cycles. We're kind of trying to pick appropriate timeframes for what we're building towards. We want to mix them up a little bit. And then we also want to make sure that we are every 6 months to a year hitting some of those classic benchmark workouts of like, okay, it's all this programming that we're doing throughout the months. Yes, they're building towards these cycle things, but are they generally making me fitter towards some of these other CrossFit benchmarks, which are tests of fitness? And so that's why hopefully over the long term, those numbers are still getting better, even though we may not specifically be focusing on those workouts. So hopefully that was fun. Y'all got to watch that a little bit. Makes my job easier. I don't have to do it on Sunday anymore. Which is when I do a lot of this. So if there are any other questions, I would say ask them now. And if there's any else program following up, anything like that, definitely throw it out there as well.
Yep. Before we end today's stream, we do have some comments, questions. The first one, I will let you see if you can guess who said this. This has been a roller coaster of emotions watching this unfold in real time.
Colin.
No.
Oh. A roller coaster. Robbie. No, he's not on there anymore. Man, I don't have a list of who's on there. Go for it. Who was it?
Amy Robinson.
Oh boy.
Another comment and a couple people have said this as well, or like backed it up. It would be fun to see this when it's not such a like strength focus cycle. So seeing it again when it's a little bit different, and not kind of having those set pieces that we did have of, okay, we're doing deadlift, squat, whatever that is. Robbie, on Monday, that is going to be a heavy 2 for your back squat.
Yeah, sorry, back squat. Didn't put that up there.
And Ryan said that in the chat as well. With that said, I think we are good.
Cool. I will say, even though the cycle is back squat, deadlift, bench press, there are typically, you have pushing and pulling with your arms, you have pushing and pulling with your legs, you have below parallel, right? You have power. And we are typically working towards something, right? So you're usually going to have a piece or two that are not necessarily locked in, but are a focus piece that the week is built around. And then are we appropriately using the rest of the body to make sure we're getting in good workout? Like people be like, yeah, my legs are shot. It's like, okay, cool, but we're running today. We're not squatting again. Like you got to still use your legs. You got to still use your arms. But hopefully if we did a lot of pushing the day before, we're going to be doing some more pulling, or we're going to give the arms a break and use a little bit different. But then 2 days from now, we're going to try to use the arms again a slightly different way. Ideally, there is the whole you could squat every day thing. I mean, some people used to do that all the time. You can do it just with different intensities, but obviously that's not something we're going to try to do. So hopefully, and I think I tell this to new people all the time too, and it's the way we program around here. If you are coming 3 days a week consistently, you're not always going to see this order of back squat, bench press, deadlift, right? And you're not always going to see these specific movements. It is constantly getting switched up. So if that is your cycle of things, you should be getting a variety of stuff, which again is for GPP. That's what I was looking for earlier. General physical preparedness, right? And so we are not set on like a Monday is this day, Tuesday is this day, Wednesday is this day. This is how we do it. It is very much fluid back and forth. And so since I squatted here, right, that doesn't mean because Nate's programming the following week, he's not necessarily going to have squats on Monday. It could be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, depending on how and what his week ends up looking like that he builds out. So just keep those things in mind too. And we could definitely do this. I'm down to do this again. It was fun. And maybe we'll do it for you one day and just have you throw some stuff up there, and I can sit in your cheat and act like I know how to press some buttons and stuff.
We do have 2 final questions.
All right.
Number one, when are we going to be testing those new 1 reps that we have for these 3
So
movements?
we talked about the end of August. So there's this week. That's not the week this is for next week.
Like the week of the 14th.
And then you're programming basically the week before we test. And so I will program the test week. So basically I program this, Nate will program a week, and then that following week will be when we will test. And then I'll kind of have to look at that week and see, are we testing on Monday? Is it a Wednesday? Is it a Friday thing? I don't think Wednesday makes the most sense because usually it's like middle of the week and you're more tired. Monday and Friday typically to me tend to be the better test days. And so if it is Friday, we'll maybe keep it a little lighter throughout the week so that we really are maybe moved, prepared, and ready for some heavy lifting on Friday. Or maybe we come out of the week kind of feeling fresh and we try to hit it on a Monday. But I personally, I like Fridays because it's like, okay, we got our bodies moving. Some things have happened during the week and everyone can kind of prep for that day and say, okay, I know on Friday I'm really testing some heavy. So if I had to say right now, I would say the Friday, 2 weeks from this week. Yeah. Whatever that falls on. I think it's the last week of August.
And then final question that we do have today. How many cycles would you say we do in a year?
That is definitely dependent on the movement and what we're focusing on. But like this one was a little over 2 months of work. We also had some other stuff in there. But this is also 3 movements of strength that we were working towards. So it needed to take a little longer, right? We could do, I'm just going to throw like a pull-up focus cycle out there, and that could be a 4 to 6 week thing, right? It's not going to take 2.5 months to build just strictly a pull-up cycle. So I would say somewhere around 6 to 8 cycles potentially of some stuff. And I will say this too. I've been programming for a long time and I've learned a lot along the way. And there is 2 ways. Some people do program based off cycles and some people don't, and they're not necessarily right or wrong. I never really programmed on cycles until I felt like we were ready to do something. So I would just program, in the beginning, like weeks or months of stuff. And then I would notice like, oh, snatches aren't looking great. So then I would kind of lead us towards a snatch cycle and kind of end on it. It wasn't like we're going to do snatches, right? So it would just kind of be like, oh, here's some things in my mind I've been seeing. And okay, this is what we need to work on. So I'm just going to like up our work volume in that area. And then maybe we'll throw a test out there and kind of see where everyone's at. And then Nate did some programming for a while. And then kind of when we started working back and forth, we liked the idea of like, okay, since we're on separate weeks, we still need to have something we are working towards. So we came up with, hey, let's pick something that is the focus ahead of time. And then let's build towards that. So this year we've kind of started that cycle thing that we're building towards. You know, we can kind of look at that at the end of the year, but I think so far it's working out pretty well. And hopefully us alternating weeks as well kind of brings y'all different ideas, different movements, different things, which again is kind of the thing with CrossFit, right? Is it constantly varied? Are we getting different fun ideas in there? Which I personally like, because also like we're going to program around things that we like and we don't like. And I think Nate and I are pretty different athletes in that aspect. And so he's going to program some stuff that maybe he thinks is hard and I think is easy, and vice versa. And so stuff like that, right? All helps the fact that there are two of us doing this for a class setting, and hopefully continuing to give you all some variety as we're going through this. Cool. Maybe we'll just end it on that. Sounds good. Well, thanks for joining.
All right, then that has been another live episode for you all this week. I hope you all enjoyed it. The chat was a lot more engaging this week compared to last week, which is a lot of fun, and we do appreciate that. Also glad to see no one was super mad about the programming. It looks like it'll be a fun week here coming up. So with that said, I will just send a reminder once again, go ahead and hit that subscribe if you haven't. Thank you all for liking when I did call that out, and we will see you all next week in another episode of Off the Rails.